Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. The title of today's lesson is Obey My Law and Live. Once again, this lesson is entitled Obey My Law and Live. Many of our people are concerned with the current circumstances upon the face of the earth, whether it be far or near, and many of our people may be afraid. Some may be confused. And when I say our people, I'm speaking specifically of the children of Israel, because we will feel the brunt of the blow in many of these nations. For we are at the bottom of the barrel as a collective in the midst of these nations. So not only are the children of Israel afraid, many of the nations are afraid as well, for it's a time of uncertainty. And people are not clear on exactly what may possibly happen today, let alone tomorrow. However, if we're walking within the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High, we are assured His protection. Once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws, do not turn to the left or to the right, or you will get hit in the mouth. We are to walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High's commandments. We are not to deviate to the right hand or to the left hand. All right, let's begin with Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 5. We will cover 13 points pertaining to obeying the Most High's law and living within it. All right, Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 5 reads, Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am Yah. So which if a man do, if a man is to observe and to do the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, keep in mind these instructions are actions. If you are to walk in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, to walk in them simply means to live in them, which means that these laws are an instruction, a way of how we should live and conduct ourselves on a daily basis, whether it be with the children of Israel or dealing with strangers. There are laws and protocols that we must abide by. And if we are to walk in them in the manner in which it is written out for us, then we shall live. Now, when we speak of living, there's a total difference between living and being alive. There's many people who are alive, but they are not living. And some people may be confused by that. At one time, I was in the hospital. My wife was in the hospital. And while she was in her room, I would actually walk down the halls and I would look into the rooms. I would see people laying down in their beds, hooked up to all manners of machines. And clearly, they were alive, but they weren't living, because many of them didn't know if they were going or coming, and most of them didn't know exactly where they were. So you can be alive and not be living, just be enduring the punishments of the Most High left and right, to where you are not able to enjoy life. And these are punishments. These are chastisements of the Most High. So there is such a thing as being alive, enduring all of these punishments to where your life is nothing but misery. And then there's you living, where you're walking within the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High, and you are shielded from such punishments. Let's turn to Proverbs chapter 7. Proverbs chapter 7. Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 2. And verse 2 of Proverbs chapter 7 reads, My son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. That's verse 1. Verse 2, keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of thine eye. Which means that in order for us to live, in order for us to be prosperous, we are to keep the Most High's law, statutes, and judgments as the apple of our eye, because we are the apple of his eye. So therefore, in order for us to be in lockstep with him, we must obey all of his commandments. Okay, so we are to keep his law and live. And failure to keep his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts is how we die. And if he does not kill us as in dead and placed into the ground, he will destroy us. And destruction does not mean certain death, as in you're going to die right now. When you see someone that has been strung out on drugs and they are no longer the person that they used to be, then that person has been destroyed. They're still here. However, they are a shell of their former self. And so the house of Israel being destroyed for the lack of knowledge, because we do not understand anything, our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding has been removed from us. Therefore, we are destroyed. We are still here. However, we are not functioning in the capacity that we are intended to function as head of all the nations. But because we have chosen idolatry, I've taken the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, balled it up, and chucked it behind our back. Because we have done this thing, we have been destroyed. We are still here. However, we are not what we should be, or we are not performing at our optimum, because we have disregarded the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Therefore, we are destroyed. Still here, but not functioning to full capacity. All right, let's turn to Psalms. Turn to the book of Psalms, and we'll read Psalms 112. Psalms 112, and we'll read verse 7. And verse 7 of Psalms 112 reads, "He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in Yah." Now, as I've stated earlier, there's many things going on within the earth today, and have been for quite some time. And many of our people, the house of Israel, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, are on a daily basis wondering what may happen. And we know exactly what will happen if we're reading the book of the law. However, we are not going to be afraid of evil tidings if our heart is fixed, trusting in Yah. And the only way that that can be done, your heart is going to have to be fixed upon his law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and obeying the words of his voice. Now, once you are within the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and you're walking in them, then you're confident that you will be protected in that walk. You then place your trust in the Most High, so therefore you will not be concerned with what may happen tomorrow. However, we are to be vigilant. We are watchmen. We are to keep our eyes and our ears open to all that is transpiring around us and what's transpiring across the seas. Because that which you see that's taking place far away, it is coming to the neighborhood and the subdivision near you. So do not ever look at certain things and think, well, that's happening way over there and that could never happen here. Whatever you're seeing that's taking part in the many nations, it is coming in the area near you. However, if you're walking in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, when that evil tidings, when it does come, you shall be shielded from it. Now let's turn to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32, and we'll read verse 46 and 47. And verse 46 of Deuteronomy chapter 32 reads, "And he said unto them, Set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which ye shall command your children to observe to do all the words of this law." Now, set your hearts unto all the words which I testify against you this day. A testimony is truth. And the Most High is truth, and so is his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Once someone gives their testimony, that testimony cannot be changed. It is unchangeable. Verse 47. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life. That is that law. And through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land, whether ye go over Jordan to possess it. Now, this was given to the children of Israel by the prophet Moshe. But we must understand, though we are in the nations scattered to the four corners and taking this beating for our disobedience, this law still stands. The truth does not change, and the Most High does not change. And this is one reason why we do not have any new prophets. All we have to do is to revert back to the prophets from the days of old. For when we had prophets, we totally disobeyed their word. So there will be no new prophets because the word has not changed. A testimony changes not. So when the Most High gives his testimony to the children of Israel, once we received his word, no man trumps the words of the Most High. No one comes after the Most High has given his word to his people. No one comes behind him and say, you know what? No, the Most High said this, but I'm going to tell you that. So we're to be mindful of that. We're to observe to do all the words of this law, for it is not a vain thing unto the children of Israel. This is our life, regardless of what nation that we may live in. This is your life, and it prolong your days. How does it prolong your days? By walking within the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. If you're to do the things that the Most High has instructed, then you will be shielded. That way, when the evil comes and the destruction comes, your life will be preserved, for you are obedient unto the words of Yah. It is simple as that. Okay, and he who is disobedient have taken the Most High's law, balled it up, chucked it behind his back, has disregarded the words of the prophets, have disregarded the words of the men of Israel who has come before him. I.e., you see on YouTube, there are many of our brothers that's teaching the law, statutes, judgments, precepts, but when you see it, you don't want to hear it. Don't care to learn it, and certainly won't do it. And those are the individuals that will be killed flat out. Let's turn to back to the book of Psalms. Let's turn to Psalms 91. And we will read verse 1 through 11. And Psalms 91, verse 1 reads, He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. We're talking about his law. I will say unto Yah, he is my refuge and my fortress, my strength, in him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler. That's a trap, a bird trap. Okay? And from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. His truth is his law. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. Our people are concerned right now as we go to sleep tonight. We don't know what may happen. Nuclear weapons may fly in the middle of the night, and that will surely bring terror upon the face of the earth. However, we shall not be afraid of these things. Verse 6, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. So we're not to be fearful of all of these things. We know that the Most High will deliver us from these troubles and from these tribulations. Verse 7, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. So we see the current situation. We know this thing can progress, and it can present a danger upon the face of the earth. And many of our people are concerned. We're seeing the gas prices increase. Your rent is increasing. You're seeing that your food cost increases, etc., etc. And there's uncertainty among the people, and there's an uneasiness of spirit in the midst of all the nations. For we are seeing the Most High deliver his wrath upon the nations, and it's only going to get worse. However, for those of us, the house of Israel, and those of us who are not of the house of Israel, but have taken a hold of the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, we may see 1,000 fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come near you. How can you be assured of this? It is the Most High that brings evil upon anyone. It is not Satan. Let me say that again. It is the Most High that brings evil upon a nation. It's the Most High that brings evil upon a city. It is the Most High that brings evil upon a person. It is not Satan. So if he's bringing that evil to that city, if he's bringing that evil to that country, and he knows that you're walking within his law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, he will shield you from it. Verse 8, only with thine eyes shall thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. The reward of the wicked is his death and his destruction. Because thou hast made Yahweh, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Once again, verse 9, because thou hast made Yah, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Your place of sanctuary is the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. When he scattered us to these nations, he let us know clearly he will not be leaving us stranded. The olive branch back onto him that he has extended is his mercy. His mercy is his law. Once you turn to that law, that is the extension of his mercy. And there is no other way to be protected, and there is no other way to be shielded, and there is no other way to be safe. So we must remember that. We are to turn to the Most High in his habitation, and we are to go into that law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and we are to abide therein. Verse 10, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. So we see clearly that the plagues have been upon the face of the earth. We see the COVID-19, etc., etc., etc. If you're walking in this law, it's not coming near you in your house. This is so you know, and you're to place your trust in the Most High. And there's many that have placed their trust in others, have taken hold of all manner of vanities and idolatries, and they have had the COVID-19 3 or 4 times. That's after being shot up 2 or 3 times. So the shot has not delivered them, and whomever they are serving has not delivered them. So we're to be careful of who we're serving, okay? Verse 11. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. So therefore, once we have turned to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, precepts, and we are doing the things that are right in his sight, the Most High will give his angel charge to guide us in the way that is right, to protect us from evil, because it's the Most High that's busting heads in these nations. And the faster you understand that, and understand that there is no devil breaking you off, the better off our people will be. When you mess up, it's the Most High sticking it to you left and right, because you have turned out of the way. And we are to understand this. All right, let's move to Psalms, the book of Psalms, chapter 78. Chapter 78. And we'll read verse 1, and then we'll read 5 through 10. All right, verse 1 of Psalms chapter 78 reads, give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. So we are to incline our ear to hear the words of the Most High Yah, not to incline our ear to listen to what Paul said, Peter said, Willie said, Bobby, Jimmy, Louie, and Billy, the Romans, the Europeans that's in the back. We're not to give ear to that. We're to give ear to the words of the Most High from his mouth. And from his mouth they were given unto prophets, and prophets were instructed to give it unto us. And unto those words are we to hearken. We will read in the same chapter, Psalm 78, we'll read verse 5 through 10. And verse 5 reads, "For he established a testimony in Jacob." What is a testimony? I've told you many times, in many videos in years past, a testimony is truth. You cannot change your testimony. For he has established a testimony, or he has established a truth in Jacob, in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. This law we are to teach to our children. It is to be taught generation after generation after generation. We are at no time not to teach this law to our children. However, this is a strict law. It reads here, he the Most High has established a truth, a testimony in Jacob, who is Israel, the people, and appointed law in Israel. And the Most High changes not. So the law does not change and it does not become done away with. For the law is truth. And you cannot eradicate, remove, erase truth. Cannot be done. Which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. So you are to teach the children the laws of the Most High. We have allowed our enemies to teach us that there is no law. And I have said in times past, no law equals lawlessness. And if you don't know what the Most High's law is, then you have no idea what evil is. If you don't know what the Most High's law is, you have no idea what righteousness is. If you have no idea what the Most High's law is, then you clearly have no idea what truth is. Verse 6, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, which means the children that's coming, they've got to know them. Who should arise and declare them to their children? We're going to do that. That's our job. We're to stand up and teach this law to our children. And when they don't obey it, we're to punish them for it. After all, if your children were to go out in the street and disobey the laws of our enemies will punish them for that. So how would we allow our children to be punished by our enemies when our children break the laws of the enemies and we are unwilling to enforce judgment when our children disobey the words of the Most High Yah that we serve? And many of us have no backbone. I'm speaking of our men. We're unwilling to reinforce and enforce judgment when those of our houses walk contrary to law. Verse 7, we're reading through 10, that they might set their hope in Yah and not forget the works of Yah, but keep his commandments. So we're not to forget the things that we have endured in times past, the many captivities that we have been in because of our disobedience, and the many times that the Most High has delivered us after busting our heads because we chose to do what we wanted to do. So we're not to forget these things. And we are to remember to keep his commandments, because failure to keep his commandments gets us thrown in the midst of these nations, gets our head busted, gets us disrespected, gets us killed, gets us locked up, and everything else. Why? Because we walk not in the way that is right. And this is the reason for our plight. Verse 8, and might not be as their fathers. That we may not be as our generations past, who have walked after these idols. A stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, meaning they're not law-abiding, and whose spirit was not steadfast with Yah. Want to do what they want to do, want to marry the heathen, want to eat what they want to eat, want to wear what they want to wear, want to do what they want to do. You can't tell an Israelite nothing. Nothing that makes sense, for he has chosen his own way and refused to hear the words of Yah, and will tell you that there is no law. Hence, he operates in lawlessness. There are no boundaries for him. He is reckless. Verse 9, the children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the days of battle. Okay. Ephraim, that would be the northern kingdom of Israel, because Israel was split in, our nation was split into two. We have Ephraim, who's also known as Israel. They're in the north. Also known as Samaria. They're in the north. Judah is down in the south, or Jerusalem. So that the one kingdom was split into two parts. So it's saying here that another kingdom, they were armed, carrying bows, but in the day of battle, they turned in the day of battle. They turned back. Why is that? Because their spirits were not strengthened by the Most High. The Most High was not before them. So the main thing to take from that verse right there is when we decide to go against our enemies and the Most High is not before us, we will lose. That is the problem with the children of Israel today. We want to fight our enemies with a bunch of nonsense. We want to march. We want to cry. We think we can love our enemies into loving us. It doesn't work that way. If the Most High has placed the Spirit upon our enemies to treat us in this manner, there's no amount of hugging and loving you can possibly give your enemies to make them change. How they're going to change when you turn to the Most High. And then he will cause your enemies to be at peace with you. But until you try that, until you do that, because the Most High did not say to try anything. He said to do it. There is no commandment here that states, Israel, you are to try. You are to make an attempt at my law. These are commandments, meaning you're going to do them or you're going to pay. There is no democracy here. And there is no compromise here. And there's no I'm going to meet you halfway here. You're going to get this done all the way, or you will certainly pay, you and your children after you. And I will continue to bust your heads until you get it right. And that's the Most High's message to the children of Israel. So if you ever wonder why you're going through what you're going through, ask yourself, how does my life line up with this law? What am I not following? Let me give this law a shot and see if this thing changes the way I behave, change the way I act, change things around me, change the way people deal with me from day to day. After all, you have no choice. Verse 10, they kept not the covenant of Yah and refused to walk in his law. This is the problem of the children of Israel. They kept not the covenant. I don't want to do any law. Have allowed their enemies to tell them that there is no law. And therefore, when there is no law, then there is no boundary. And therefore, man becomes boundless, lawless. And this is why in the many nations that we live in today, we see that our enemies have no bounds. Their lawlessness does not have limits to them. There's nothing that they won't do. They will lie, they will steal, they will murder, they will cheat, they will do anything. For they have taught us that there is no law. And their lifestyle and the things that they do clearly shows us that they really don't believe that there is no law, because they are absolutely lawless. All right. Let's go. We've read verse 10. Let's go ahead and turn to the book of Joshua. The book of Joshua. Joshua chapter 24, verse 20. Joshua 24. Joshua 24, verse 20. All right. Joshua 24, verse 20. And it reads, if ye forsake Yah and serve strange idols, which are gods, lowercase, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you. After that, he has done you good. So after you have decided, you want to forsake the Most High, throw the law behind your back, and do what you want to do, then what happens is all the good that he's done to you will go from doing good for you, and all of a sudden you become an enemy unto him, and he becomes an enemy unto you. He will do you harm. Okay? So we're to remember that we are to walk in the ways of the Most High, and we are not to forsake him and serve strange idols, because to serve strange idols, he will destroy us. For what we're doing when we do that, we're walking contrary to the instruction that we were given. We are to put nothing and no one and no image before the Most High, and that the Most High is one. He's not two or three, has never been. So as we read through the instructions carefully that we were given, we are to take heed to them. We are not to forsake the Most High and take the enemy's God, the gods of our enemies, and decide to say, you know what? Well, JC delivered you out of Egypt. No, he did not. You cannot find that anywhere in the Holy Text. Okay? So we are to actually go into this text and read this. That way we may know. You can believe what you want. That don't make it true. But once we go into this text and we read, we can see clearly where we were delivered out of Egypt by the Most High. Okay, and that the Most High stated to us that he was one on the mountain. He has never said he was three. So these are things that we are to know. Not believe, we are to know by simply going into the text and reading them. All right, let's turn to Numbers chapter 14. Going to Numbers chapter 14. Numbers chapter 14. And we'll start off with verse 11. Verse 11 of Numbers chapter 14. And it reads, And Yah said unto Moses, How long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I have shown among them? All right. Now, this is what the Most High said to Moses. How long will these people continue to provoke me with their foolishness, with their rebellion, with their murmurings? After all that he has shown them, how long will they continue to err? How long will they continue to do that which is incorrect? How long will they continue to do that which is against my instruction? Especially after all that I have shown them. So it's one thing to not believe somebody because they haven't done anything for you. But the Most High has delivered us. He has shown us all his wonders, has extended his mercy unto us, has fed us, clothed us, protected us. We were clothed by him, protected by him, delivered by him, etc. And after all that he has shown us, we continue to err. We continue to provoke him to his face. And you wonder why we're getting killed in these nations? You're to consider that. So it says clearly here, for all the signs which I have shown among them. Okay, let's discuss that. The Most High said he would do something, and then he did it. And that is to prove to us that his words are true and that he doesn't renege on his word. So we've seen all the things of the past of what he would do. And then we have read in this book where he has done it to us. And so now here we are in the nations as we go into the book of remembrance and we're reading it. We're able to reflect on, okay, this is what the Most High did back then. And now we're reading, we're saying, you know what? Well, this is what the Most High said he's going to do right now as he brings us awake in this nations, as he puts out his spirit upon us, and we're no longer dummies in these nations. A dummy is someone who is deaf and blind. You're dumb. You can look in this book, read it with both your eyeballs, have 5 degrees, and have no understanding of it. It's sealed to you. These are the types of things that make us dumb. We just don't understand. Our hearts have been made fat. So the Most High said he's going to show, he had shown us all of these wonders. So now we're seeing some things. He said if we started to turn to him and cry out unto him and pray in the manner in which he has instructed us to pray in the many lands of our captivity, that he will hear our cry. And he will take our curses that he has placed upon us. He would reverse them. And he would put the same distress upon the heathen. We are seeing this taking place today with our own eyes. So when we look in this word and we are able to bear witness, a witness sees. When we are able to bear witness that, you know, the Most High really is not playing. I'm seeing what he said he did. I could look through the history and see that these things have happened. I can see clearly what he's going to do, and I can see him in the process of doing that right now. So I know clearly he's not to be provoked. So let me go ahead and turn and do that which is right in his sight, because when this destruction comes, I don't want no part of it. I want to live. And if you're of that mindset, then what you will do, you will withdraw your hands from evil. You will turn to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and you will do that which is right in his sight. That way you're not sitting around scared of what's going to happen tomorrow. Will there be a nuclear war tomorrow? If there is, there will be a highway made for those who are law-abiding, those who are Torah keepers, who are walking in his law. They can drop all the bombs they want. If you're walking in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, a clear way will be made for the faithful. So therefore, going to sleep at night in fear is not one of your concerns. All right. Let's move over to, we're in the same chapter. Let's move over to verse 18. And verse 18 reads, Yah is long-suffering and of great mercy. His mercy is his law, forgiving iniquity and transgression. By turning to the law and doing that which is right in the sight of the Most High, this is how your transgression and your iniquity is wiped away. All right. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. When you decide you want to live foul and totally disregard the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High, you don't teach it to your children because chances are you don't know it. And even if you were exposed to it, you disregarded it. And so therefore your child does not know it. And so therefore all the hardship that you faced, they're going to face too, because they don't know the law. And if you don't know it, chances are you're going to be doing things in opposition to it. And so therefore the Most High will punish you through the generations. This is clear to anyone who understands this book, that no one man lives forever. You live forever through your children. Your children are your replicas. They are you. They're nothing but you in the next generation. I am my father in this generation. My father is nothing but me in the last generation. And so therefore, your father, the parent, is to teach, the father is to teach his son. Because to teach his son is to teach himself. And I hope you understand that. If you're a father and you have a son, that is nothing but you. And the whole goal of a parent, of a father, I'm speaking specifically from father to son, that goes for daughters and mothers to daughters, as fathers to daughters, is the same thing, is for you to understand that when you give your child that law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and you instruct them to do that which is right in the sight of the Most High, when you drop dead and they put you in the grave, you are still here. You are still here via your genetics with your children, via your children. So you're not dead. You are dead in the ground, but you're really not. Your seed is still upon the earth. And that is how you continue to move on, by way of your seed. That way your days are prolonged upon the earth. So we are to remember that this is how he punishes us through the generation, because it is the same gene pool. It is the same people. Your son is you in the next generation. You are your father from the last generation. So if he doesn't get you now, he gets you next generation and the generation after that. And this is why when Solomon messed up, Most High allowed Solomon to sit on the throne, but he got Rehoboam. Why? Because Rehoboam is the seed of Solomon. It's still Solomon, same seed. Rehoboam is David. Rehoboam is David in 2 generations past. That's it. So understand how this works. No one man lives forever. No one person lives forever. You live forever through the generations. The only one that lives forever is the Most High. He is the first and he is the last. And you can't be last with him. So you understand that. Because sometimes I hear people talking crazy. All right. So where were we? We were reading Verse 18, I do believe, speaking to the children. Okay, we'll read from 18 through 24. Verse 19, pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people according unto the greatness of thy mercy, and as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt even unto this day. So the Most High has extended his mercy to us, brought us out of this captivity, and certainly Moshe is pretty much asking for the forgiveness of this people. And Yah said, I have pardoned according to thy word. So our intercessor being Moshe, in spite of all the grief that the house of Israel was given Moshe, Moshe still petitioned for us to be spared and for the Most High not to really bust us upside our heads. And the Most High granted that. He said, okay, I'm going to go easy on these people. Okay, I'm going to pardon according to thy word. And he did this. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yah. What is the glory of Yah? The glory of Yah is the house of Israel, the people, the nation. And the glory of the Most High is also his law. So the earth is going to be filled with Israelites, and the earth is going to be filled with his law. Verse 22. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. To hearken unto the voice of the Most High is to walk after the laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. Is to be in obedience to his word, to his voice. And when you do anything contrary to that, then he kills you. Or he plagues you first, makes your life tough, and then kills you. All right. Verse 23. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. Okay. So the Most High says, surely none of them is going to see this land which I swear unto their fathers, because he's going to kill them. Make sure they don't get there. Okay. All right. Neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. Provoke him. You want to challenge what you hear when Moshe give you the word. The Most High said, don't do this, don't do that. The brothers come here before you and tell you and read this law to you, as I do. Man, I ain't doing that. I don't believe that. I'm going to do what I want. So total disregard for the Most High's law. He said, you're not going to see the land. And all those that provoke him, he surely won't allow you to see it. How so? He's going to kill you. Simple as that. Verse 24. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land, whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. His seed. Who is his seed? His children. So when you decide to, the title of this lesson is Obey My Law and Live, because Caleb, as well as Joshua, they both of these men, hearkened unto the voice of the Most High. The others of Israel in those generations past did not. Most High killed them in the wilderness. The wilderness was nothing but a staging ground for the faithful. So this is I'm going to put you in this wilderness right here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to purge all you rebels. All those of you who refuse to hear my word, want to do what you want to do, want to go in opposition to the priest, the Levites, want to go in opposition to my word, I'm going to kill you. But I'm going to kill you in this generation. And I'm going to allow you to live in the next generation. What does that mean? The Most High has a covenant with the children of Israel that we will always be before him, and we are his people. He cannot renege on that. He's going to bust our heads and have been busting our heads for a minute, but we still have children. And we're going to continue to have children because the children of Israel will always be. We are his people, and he has an everlasting covenant with us, which means we're going to have to last forever because the covenant he has with us is everlasting. And how do we last forever? Through our children. So when he was busting heads in the wilderness, Killed everyone off. Only the children that was 20 and under, they were allowed to live. Anyone that was 21 and up, they were dead. He killed them off. Just so you understand that the Most High really is not playing with you. He's not playing with me. He's not playing with us. All right? There are punishments that will be handed out to the rebels and those who choose to walk in total opposition of the Most High. Just so you understand that. All right. So we know good and well that Caleb made it into the land because he adhered to the words of the Most High. Simple as that. Let's go to our same chapter. We're going to move to verse 28. And we will read 28 through 32. And verse 28 reads, Say unto them, Truly as I live, saith Yah, as ye have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. They were murmuring in the ear, just saying all types of madness, totally disregarding the Most High's law and murmuring. Okay, verse 29. Your carcasses, that's your dead, stinking bodies, shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me, blaspheming the Most High, talking crazy. I'm not going to do any law. Man, let me go back to Egypt. You got us down here killing us. You brought us out here so we could die. Our kids are starving out here. It was better back in Egypt, and all this other nonsense that you were saying. Verse 30. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land, concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save, that means except, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. So except for Joshua and Caleb, all the rest of them I'm going to kill. Except the children. So the children, Joshua, and Caleb were the only one that made it into the land. All the elders, the old heads, so to speak, got their heads busted. That's why you're not going to have too many old men bringing you this law, because the old men are the reason why the young men have gone astray. Verse 31. But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. So the young children were brought in, but those young children got killed off the generation prior. I hope you understand that. Okay? So the generation before them, their parents didn't do right. Most High killed their parents. But their parents are still alive via the seed of the children. You understand? Verse 32. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness. All right. So the Most High let us know, plain as day, I'm going to kill you. Your carcass is going to fall in this wilderness. You're not getting into this land. I'm going to kill you. Simple. However, I can't break the covenant that I made with this entire nation. I've said that you will always be before me, and you are my people. You are my chosen. You're going to take my law to the rest of these nations. And so therefore, I can't kill you all off, because then that would be him reneging on his covenant, breaking his own covenant, and the Most High is not going to do that. So what he'll do, I'm going to kill you, but I'm going to let you have a couple of children. So it's still you. I'm going to wait and see what you're going to do in the next generation. Okay, you don't do right, well, I'm going to kill you off again. I'm going to let you have some children. Until one day you wake up. Because whether you wake up in the first generation, the sixth generation, or the 600th generation, it is still you. From David all the way down to Zedekiah. Zedekiah is still David. It's just David many generations removed. I hope you all understanding that. All right. So we understand that the Most High will break you off. He will kill you when you decide you just want to do what you want to do. Let's turn to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 54. We're sitting now at point 9. I will touch on 13 bulletin points here, that you may understand that you are to obey the Most High's law and live. And not because you are alive means that you are living. Isaiah 54. All right. Isaiah chapter 54, we'll read verse 5 through verse 17. Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 5 reads, For thy maker is thine husband, Yah of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One, not the Holy Two, and certainly not the Holy Three of Israel. The strength of the whole earth shall he be called. Verse 6, For Yah hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou was refused, saith Yah. Verse 7, For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. Great mercies. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. The Most High's mercy that has been extended unto the children of Israel, and it is also extended unto the nations, is his law. Is his law. That's the extension of his mercy. Now we're reading through verse 17. Let me see where we're at. All right. For a small moment, the Most High said that he has forsaken the children of Israel, but with great mercies will he gather us. In a little wrath, I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith Yah, thy Redeemer. I don't see JC here. I don't see JC here. In fact, it is not here. So your only Redeemer is Yah of hosts, the King of Israel. And we were clearly instructed by him that he was one. He said that with his own voice. Now, you need to listen to the Most High, because there's no man breathing that can come after the Most High has proclaimed something to us. Can't no man come and change it. And when you decide to disobey the instructions of the Most High, you have to understand that that's going to lead to your own destruction. So that's something for you to think about. All right. Verse 9. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I will not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. So the Most High is going to change towards us. But that's after we change towards him. Okay? So once we turn back onto his law, statutes, judgments, precepts, because he's going to pour his spirit out upon us to do this. Because the house of Israel is stiff-necked and stubborn, and the Most High said, the more he punishes, the more we rebel. That about sounds like my people. In all the many countries where I have been and where I have lived, I can attest to that. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith Yah, that hath mercy on thee. Remember, the law brings about peace. If you have no peace in your house, that's because you don't walk in the law. All right? So once you decide to turn to the law, then the Most High grants you peace. What is peace? Peace is rest. That is a simple word for peace. Some men have no peace. Some women have absolutely no peace. I've said it many times before. To lay down in your bed, close your eyes, and to get a good night's sleep is one of the most priceless things there is. And many of our people have no peace. They're so full of worry and turmoil, etc. They can't close their eyes and get any sleep, for there is no peace of mind within them. There's no peace in their heart. There's no peace in their mind, and there's no peace in their house. Imagine that. All right. Verse 11. O thou afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted, behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires. And I will make thy windows of agates, and thy gates of carbuncle, and all thy borders of pleasant stones. And all thy children shall be taught of Yah. That means all your children are going to be taught about that law. And great shall be the peace of thy children. Peace. You can't have peace unless you're walking in that law. In righteousness shall thou be established. Of course, because any man that builds his house, builds his nation, or builds anything in unrighteousness, it shall be destroyed. So let's look at America. Look at the history of this place. Look at how it was built. Look what it was built upon. Look at who built it. Look at how it was built. Look at its laws. Look at how it has treated its people. Look at how it has treated the children of the Most High. So after you look at this place, how it came about, how it was built, and what was done to the children of Israel in this land, what do you think is the end result of this nation? I'll let you ponder upon that. Verse 15. Verse 14, let's go ahead and reread 14. In righteousness shall thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. So as we return back onto righteousness, this is how we shall be established. Established where? We shall be established in Jerusalem. We shall be established as the children of Yah, as his people. We shall be established as the apple of his eye. We shall be established as the head and not the tail of all nations. Verse 15, behold, they shall surely gather together, they who your enemies, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. So as you walk in this law, you're going to have Israelites that can't stand you, that hate the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. They live a lawless lifestyle. They are undisciplined in every facet of the game. There's no rules that they will live by. Don't want to hear anything about no law. Don't want to live a lifestyle of restraint. They do not want to be, I'm boxed in. I want to do what I want to do. They have a mindset of democracy. Why? Because their enemies have taught them this, that they have the right to do what they want to do. Not for a moment ever considering, well, before I follow after the words and the advice and the counsel of my enemies, let me look carefully at the conduct of my enemies. And if you look carefully at the conduct of all these nations that we have been scattered in, all of these nations that have murdered us, sold us, killed us, and enslaved us, you will see that all of their ways and their doings are contrary to Torah. Not some of them, every last one of them, which makes them enemies unto the Most High, which means the Most High is going to kill them. So I'm going to say it again, that you may understand. Let go of the ways of the heathen. Let go of the ways of your enemies. Turn to the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. You don't want to be left holding on to a man that's butt naked and destroyed. That's what's going to happen to you if you continue to walk after the ways of the heathen. You're taking a hold of something and someone that is profitable for nothing. His end is his destruction. And if you are to join ranks with him, you also will be destroyed. The Most High said that he will sift the children of Israel from these many nations. A sift or a sieve separates. You cannot be separated from your enemies if you're joined unto them. And that means in marriage, in philosophy, ideology, and anything else. You're setting yourself up to be killed. So you are to consider that as the Most High turns these many curses that has been upon us, upon these nations, and you see them crying out, and you see them killing each other, and you see their city is being bombed, and you see their city is being flooded, and you see the snow that's bearing down on their houses, and the violence in the midst of their houses, in the midst of their cities, etc. All that we have encountered, you're going to see this being doled out upon our enemies. And we're going to see exactly how they handle that. And when this is being done, we're going to rejoice in the Most High. We're not going to rejoice that what's being done to them is happening. We're just going to remain steadfast in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. And we're going to be thankful that the Most High has allowed us to live and to bear witness by seeing that his word is true, and to be the beneficiaries of a great deliverance. Because the Most High, when he delivers us, somebody got to die. And I'm talking about a whole lot of somebodies. And those somebodies can be summed up in one word: rebels. All right. So we know good well the Most High said that they will gather against us, but they're going to fall, because we're walking in the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. So provided we continue to do that, we will be just fine. Verse 16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. I've said in the last, for those of you who do follow the Israelites Assembles channel, when I sit down and chat with the brothers, I made mention last time that whether you are wicked or whether you are righteous, you're serving the Most High. The Most High brings forth the destroyer, the evildoer. So we all have a role to play. But when the evildoer is done doing whatever his purpose is, he gets destroyed. Simple as that. When the righteous man and the righteous doer is done doing his righteousness, he gets elevated. He gets rewarded. The evil man is not. He's just going to get killed. But we all have a job to do. The evil man going to do what he has to do. And the righteous man is going to do what he has to do. It is simple as that. We are now at the great separation, the great divide. That him or her who will do evil, and him or her that will walk in the way of righteousness. One will live and one will die. So the waster, the Most High has created the waster to destroy. So the man that's going to do all the head busting, the Most High created that man to get that done. You got to understand that. Because if you let your enemies talk to you, they tell you, hey, man, that dude, this is Satan, or it's the devil. Always have some nonsense to tell you. There's no devil here. Most High does it all. I'm going to create the man to bust your head. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to raise up a nation to come through and bust your head and get you out my land because you're not obeying any of my rules. It's really simple. It's not my words, the Most High's words. I'm just repeating it to you. Verse 17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. You hear the Christians, the Romans, same thing. The Catholics, same thing. You hear these idolaters talk about no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Now keep in mind the children of Israel in these many lands, they are Christians. And they're getting their heads busted every day. And all the weapons that's been formed against them, from the dog to the billy club, to the guns, to the tasers, to the jail cells, all those weapons that's been formed against the children of Israel that serve Christianity, it has all prospered against them. Yet they have not considered, man, what I'm serving is not delivering me. Who I'm serving has not delivered me. It has not dawned upon them that they're walking after idols and that they're actually spinning their wheels and walking around in circles and bumping into walls. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Thee who? The righteous. And every tongue that shall rise up against thee in judgment shall thou condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yah. You serve the Most High by obeying his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. So the weapon that's formed against you is not going to work if you're walking in Torah. If you're serving JC, when the club goes up against you, when it's rising up against you, it's coming down on your head. When the dog run up on you, he's going to bite you. When the cop pull his gun out on you, or the other drug dealer from across the street pull a gun out, the bullet's going to hit you. All these things have come upon the children of Israel. So therefore, this don't apply to you. And it tells you exactly who it applies to. This is the heritage of the servants of Yah, and their righteousness is of him, saith Yah. I hope my people are getting this. And I certainly hope that those who are not of the children of Israel are paying attention to this. I want you to look upon yourselves. If you know your family, your people, your generations, your nation has taken the children of Israel and have abused them, and you recognize this thing, you better repent for this thing, because as the Most High pours out his judgment upon these nations, you're going to be in the lot. You're going to be destroyed. So are your children. You want to stop that. So this is the information that gets you to where you can save yourself. Can't no one save you, and no one has ever died for you. That's why you're dying right now in these streets. No one has ever died for you. If I ate for you, you shouldn't be hungry. If someone died for you, then you shouldn't be dead and stinking in a pine box someplace. So we need to consider these things. No one's ever died for you. You're going to save yourself. You're going to save yourself by returning onto this law, statute, judgment, and precepts. You're going to save your children to save themselves by doing the same. Because to teach your children is to teach yourself. To save your children, to preserve your children, is to preserve yourself. They are you in the next generation. I got to stress that. All right. Let's turn to Proverbs chapter 6. And we should know this very well. Proverbs chapter 6, and we'll read verse 23. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23 reads, "For the commandment is a lamp. A lamp illuminates, allow you to see. When you're walking in commandments, you're not walking in the dark. You're not bumping into things. All the traps and snares are clear for you to see. You can avoid trouble. And the law is light." You're walking in the law, you've got some light. And the light is held before you. There's no man with a lamp that's got the lamp behind him while he's going forward. That's a fast way to walk into a wall and break your nose. Okay? And reproofs of instruction are the way of life. In other words, by way of this law, that is the thing that dictates, instructs, and guides you on how to conduct yourself. And if you keep the light before you, you allow your light to shine, that others in the dark may come to you and learn that law. All right. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1. I'm running low on power here. I need to get to this quickly. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1. Leviticus chapter 26. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1. Matter of fact, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1 through 3. And verse 1 reads, "Ye shall make you no idols, nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your land." Big old JC sitting in Rio de Janeiro. Now, after you read this, do you think that that's right? Do you think that's the thing to do? Once again, "Ye shall make you no idols, nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up an image of stone in your land, to bow down unto it. For I am Yah, your strength. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths." Do you even keep the Sabbath? Keep the Sabbath, you get rest. Our people are busy doing nonsense every day of the week. The average man on the earth does not know what it's like to take a day to rest, as the Most High has commanded us to do. So we're to keep the Most High's Sabbath and reverence his sanctuary. And reverence my sanctuary. I am Yah. Verse 3. If ye walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. So we're to walk in the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and we are to do them. Let's jump to verse 14 through 18. Same chapter. And verse 14 reads, But if you will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgment, hates them, so that you will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth. And if you will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. This is to reiterate that the Most High is not playing with you. If you want to live, and being alive doesn't mean you're living. If you want to live and to be free from terror, most of our people are terrorized by our own people. Some of you are terrorized by your children. If you want to have peace, you are to walk in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Let's jump down to verse 21 through 25 of the same chapter. And verse 21 reads, And if ye walk contrary unto me, and will not hearken unto me, I will bring 7 times more plagues upon you according to your sins. We are plagued for our foolishness. Verse 22, I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. Verse 23, and if you will not be reformed by me, by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, then will I also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times more for your sins. Most High is redundant. He is not playing with you. He's not playing with me. He's not playing with us. Verse 25, and I will bring a sword, that's death in all of its manifestations, upon you, that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. When you see these brothers getting killed, our youth getting shot down, and all the foul things that's happening to them as we are killed, it is the Most High bringing his sword upon the children of Israel. And that is to avenge the quarrel of his covenant. I want you to do this. Check the dossier. Check the records on those that has been murdered in the street. And I bet you none of them keeps Torah. I'll say this again. None of them keeps Torah. And I will bring a sword upon you. I'm going to kill you. That shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. That's why I'm killing you in the street and killing you everywhere else, because you're not walking in my law. And when you are gathered together within your cities, I will send a pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hands of your enemies. In other words, ain't no place to run. There's no place to run. Your enemies are going to be in control of you. They're going to control the water you drink, the food you eat, the medicine you need, and everything else. There is no way. You did not, as a people, we did not want the Most High to be in charge of us. We want to go, hey man, I don't want to obey these rules. I'm going to go live with these Philistines. These rules are too much. I'm going to go someplace else. Okay, well, go live with them. I'm going to turn their hearts against you. And when you realize that's not the thing to do, come back onto my law and I will receive you. These are very clear and simple instructions. But these instructions cannot be followed unless you are of a contrite spirit and you are a disciplined person. Our people are undisciplined. As far as I can see throughout my life, that's one of the biggest problems of the house of Israel. They lack discipline. Psalms 15. Who can dwell with Yah? Let's go ahead and see that. Now, man, I'm gonna be in heaven with God. You talking about being in heaven with God? God never said anything about you coming up in heaven where he's at or nothing like that. I don't know where our people Suffering for the lack of knowledge. I would like my people to just take this book, open it up, and start reading, and stop murmuring, speaking nonsense, which is nothing but blaspheming the Most High. All right, let's deal with Psalms 15. We're going to read the entire chapter. This is very short. Yah, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walketh uprightly, that means him that follows this law, and worketh righteousness, righteousness is that law, and speaketh the truth in his heart. To speak the truth is to walk in the law, because you're not to lie. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor. All these are laws we're talking about. In whose eyes a vile person is condemned, but he honoreth them that fear Yah. In other words, when I meet a brother that fears the Most High, like Brother Benaiah, when I meet a brother like that, we gel just like that, because that man fears the Most High, and you can sense these things. And so when you meet a man that walks in righteousness, that connection is instant. It's almost hard to describe. All right. So once again, it says here clearly, a man that does not do evil to his neighbor nor take up a reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person, the vile person, you know what vile is, someone who walks contrary to this law, is condemned. But he honoreth them that fear Yah. You're going to give a man that fears the Most High priority over anyone else. All right. To his own hurt, and changes not. Okay. So change not. Verse 5, he that putteth not out his money for usury. One of your family members needs some money. All right, Joe, look, I'm going to lend you this $100. But on your next paycheck, you need to break me off $125. Usury, that means interest. You're not to charge interest to your fellow Israelite. If a brother borrowed $100 from you, you're to get $100 back from him, not 110, not 125. You're not to charge usury to each other. This is in the law. Nor take it reward against the innocent. So you're not to take a reward against the innocent man. He that doeth these things shall never be moved. So the only person that's going to dwell with the Most High, the only person that's going to dwell with the everlasting burnings, who is the Most High, is a man that is of a contrite spirit that will adhere to law. So when you hear people tell you that there is no law, count them as destroyed. Because the Most High said the only people that's going to dwell with him are the law-abiding citizens, or law-abiding individuals, those that will obey his Torah. So if you're saying there is no law, well, then you can't dwell with the Most High, because he's clearly stating that there is a law, and that the only people that can dwell with him is going to be those that will obey his law. So someone is wrong here, and you have to determine who that person is. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30, and we'll read verse 1 through 3. And verse 1 reads of Deuteronomy chapter 30. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither Yah thy strength has driven thee. When the Most High starts waking us up, what we're experiencing right now, and we start to go into this Torah, and we begin to be reminded of what transpired in the days of old, and why we got our heads busted in the days of old. And we understand why we're getting our heads busted today. And shall return unto Yah thy strength. Return unto him, that's to turn back unto his laws. And shall obey his voice, that's obeying his law. According to all that I have commanded thee this day, thou and thy children, you and your children, because your children are nothing but you and the next generation. With all thine heart and with all thy soul. Verse 3, that then, that's the stipulation, only after you and your children have turned to Torah. Most High said, I will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee. He's going to extend his mercy by way of his law, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yah thy strength have scattered thee. So all these places where we are, speaking all these crazy languages, having all these crazy names that don't belong to us. We got Spanish names, English names, Dutch names, French names, Italian names. And we're not Italians, we're not Dutch, we're not French, etc. But the heathen has placed their name upon the chosen of the Most High, gave us their language, their names, their gods, and their customs. For these reasons, we're getting our heads busted. So we understand clearly that the Most High will take all these curses off of us once we turn the Torah, start putting it on our enemies. We're seeing it. And our enemies are feeling it. They're confused. They have no idea what's happening. And they have no power to stop it. All right. Let's turn to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 12. Jeremiah chapter 12. I need to find my, 1 second, let me find my power cord. I do not want to lose this at all. All right. I apologize about the pause and the delay, but I had to make sure that this lesson at all will not be lost. So I've ensured that I plugged up my power cord. That way my computer doesn't go out and I lose this lesson. So I've done what was necessary to ensure that that does not happen. All right, let's deal once again. We're dealing with Jeremiah chapter 12, and we'll read verse 7, and we'll also read verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 7 reads, I have forsaken mine house. I have left my heritage. I have given the dearly beloved of my soul into the hand of her enemies. All right. Enemies is plural. That's more than one. So the Most High said he has forsaken his house. That's why we don't have a temple. Okay? His heritage is the children of Israel. He's given them, we are his dearly beloved, and he has given us into the hand of our enemies, plural. That's why no matter where you go, there's a name for you. And it doesn't matter where you go, your treatment is the same. Germans going to treat you the same. The Italians are going to treat you the same. Go to Ukraine, they're going to treat you the same. So that's amazing. I don't think many of our people consider this, that how come no matter what language you speak, and it doesn't matter what landmass that we are on, we are treated entirely the same. And that same is bad from top to bottom. Yet, we tend to glorify and make all types of attempts to magnify ourselves one over and against the other. Never do we consider, you know what? You're in Nigeria. I'm in America. This guy's over here in Spain. There's a fellow over here in the Ukraine. And these people hate us all the same. Let's sit back and figure out why is that? And what can we do as a collective, seeing that our enemies are all the same? But instead of doing that, the children of Israel are dumb. They're deaf and blind. Instead of figuring out, well, what is the connection between you and I that causes us to be treated this way? And many will say it's not skin color. Well, I don't see anybody else being treated that way. So it has to be skin color, because I don't see anyone else being treated that way. And this is just getting straight to the point, and some may not like that. So it's really simple. as a people, we have to ponder upon and consider, why is it that we're being treated this way by other people? The Japanese treat us foul. Asians treat us foul. Europeans treat us foul. It doesn't matter who it is. All the different groups, these are enemies of our people, have not treated us fairly. No equity, no justice. No righteousness has been shown to us. But once again, the righteousness of the Most High, his law, was given to the children of Israel. And it's the children of Israel that will stand up and teach the laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High to the nations. So since the nations were not given the law, and the nations know not righteousness, you would be an absolute fool to expect them to show you righteousness, for they don't know what it is. And there's nothing can be more foolish than a man asking another man for something that he does not have possession of. We're to consider that. And that is why these people have treated us and will continue to treat us this way. They don't know the law. And most of them can care less about it. However, we're still to stand up in our lot and teach it. More importantly, we are to live it. And that is what we must do. All right. Jeremiah chapter 12. I have read verse 7. Let's go to verse 10. And verse 10 reads, "Many pastors have destroyed my vineyard. The vineyard of the Most High is the children of Israel." We have pastors out here from these churches who have been indoctrinated by these Romans, who have been indoctrinated by these Christians, who've been indoctrinated by these Catholics. They're all the same. They will teach you that, hey, there is no law. Somebody died for you, and you need to give me 10% of your money every month. We ain't talking net. These chumps talking gross, which is amazing. No, yeah, you need to break me off 10% of your money, but not the net. I need 10% off the top. This is what these people do. They are fleecing the children of Israel because our people do not understand the law of tithe and tithing. They have never gone into the law. Now, if they were to do that, they would know that that's not correct. They would know that that man is not a Levite. They would know that the Most High had never, ever placed his name in any house other than the one that was built by Solomon. Simple as that. Simple as that. And there were only 2 houses built onto the Most High, and none of them were built in America. And in America, you can find the house of God, that's what they call it, a church. You can find one on every block. But yet, the people that go the most, the house of Israel, and has the most of these idol houses, the house of Israel, are the ones that's at the bottom of the barrel and suffer the most. And you have not considered why that is. So many of these pastors have destroyed the vineyard, they destroyed the children of Israel. Why? Because the pastor, the politician, and the police in these nations are hand in hand. It's a 3-pronged fork. So the pastors of these churches who are Israelites are nothing but enemies unto his own people. Some of you don't like to hear that because some of you are pastors. And if you're not a pastor, your daddy's a pastor, your uncle's a pastor. These are idolaters. They're enemies unto our people. And they're in cahoots. They're in bed with their enemies. It's simple as that. And the history shows it. All right. Let's go down to verse 14 through 16. And verse 14 reads, "Thus saith Yah, against all mine evil neighbors that touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit." That's that land. "Behold, I will pluck them out of their land, and pluck out the house of Judah from among them." So folks came and took our land, sitting in that land. Most I can pluck them up out of there. And the house of Israel is going to be plucked up out of the many lands that we're in right now. And he's going to place us back into the land that he promised unto our forefathers. Most High never said anything about, I'm going to get you out of these nations and take you up in the sky. This pie in the sky thing, our people seem to be fascinated by this. I remember years ago, I watched a movie called, forgot the name of it, but Kirk Cameron Kirk Cameron was the name of the actor that was in it. And I forgot the name of the movie. Anyway, it dealt with people being sucked up into the sky and some great deliverance, some kind of nonsense. And if you don't know the law and you see a movie like that, you'd believe that that's real, that you would actually get sucked up into the sky in some great deliverance somehow. And Kirk Cameron was the actor. You may be able to look up that movie. You may have even seen that movie. I forgot the name of the thing, but it was absolute foolishness. And how do you know it's foolishness? You have to go into the law and read the law. So whenever anyone presents something to you and you want to know, well, is what you're saying true or is it false? When that happens, you must then take what you've heard and put it up against the standard. The standard is the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, precepts. That's Torah, the words of the prophets. And therein you will find out if whether what you have heard is true or false when you put it up against the ultimate truth. And that is the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Okay? So we're to remember that. All right. Verse 14, thus saith Yah against all mine evil neighbors that toucheth the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit. Behold, I will pluck them out of their land, and pluck out the house of Israel from among them. And it shall come to pass, after that I have plucked them out, I will return and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage, and every man to his land. All right. So he's going to take the children of Israel, all 13 tribes of them, and he's going to return them to their former estates. The land that he gave unto our forefathers, we had borders. Judah lives here. Issachar lives here. Asher lives there, etc., etc. Naphtali lives here. Okay, so we had borders that we lived in our respective tribes. In the whole nation of Israel, every tribe had its respective region with borders. So before I get to verse 16, and the Most High said he's going to return every man to his land, which means whatever your possession was, if you're of Naphtali, you're going to be returned back onto where Naphtali is supposed to be. Now, the children of Israel, the land of Israel, has borders. And within the land of Israel, there are also borders. The borders are going to be the borders of the respective tribes, and the borders will also be the borders of the heathen that will be given inheritance in the midst of us. Now, you have the Christians stating that there is no law, somebody came and died for you, and all this other nonsense. Now, think of a nation on this earth. I don't know how many nations there are on the earth right now. If I were to guess, I would say somewhere probably about 250. I don't know. That's just my guess. Anyway, let's just say it's 250. Name me one nation on this earth that has a border that separates them from other nations that does not have any law. There's no law. This nation right here doesn't have any law at all. There is no such thing as a nation that does not have any laws. So if you can look with your eyes and clearly see that there is no man-made nation sitting on this earth right now that does not have any law, why would you think the creator of heaven and of the earth will have a people that he calls his own, put them in a landmass with borders, and not give them any instructions at all? This is a free-for-all. I'm going to give you this land. There's no rules to live by. Here's a border, but you don't have to stay here. You can just go and take somebody else's land if you want. There's no repercussions for it because there is no law. Do what you want. Does that even make sense to you? It doesn't. The Most High is nothing but law, and he's nothing but order. And when you do things out of order, you're going to pay. Verse 16, and it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people. The ways of the Most High's people is the laws of Yah. There's Torah. This is what I'm teaching you. This is what I'm reading to you. So When we learn the law, then the nations got to come learn the law from us. So if you ever wonder as an Israelite, man, these nations are foul as all get out, and the people of Israel are foul as all get out, the only reason why these nations are foul is because you have not done your job. You have turned your back on the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and therefore you got kicked in the teeth and kicked out the nations, and now you're in these nations getting your head busted. How can we correct this mess? Simply turn back to the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, walk in it, stand tall in it, live it. Then you teach it to the nations, and then when you do that, then they'll know how to act. So when you slice this up in its proper portions, the mistake here is on the children of Israel. For we have failed to do what we were ordained and created to do, to bring forth the Most High's righteousness to the nations. So our job, in a nutshell, is for us to teach the nations the righteousness of the Most High. Another way to say that is our job is to teach the nations the laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. That's our sole purpose. We're to walk in it and we're to teach the nations. And since we failed to walk in it, we got the boot. And so therefore now all of these nations know not the Most High, and they're running around telling people that there is no law because we have not stood up in our lot and taught the law. However, it's a new day and we're doing that. And many of the heathen are coming to these many channels and they're learning. And so are the children of Israel. They're coming and they're learning as well. So these are good things that's taking place in our time. All right, and it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, to swear by my name, that Yah liveth, the house of Israel, the strong one of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has never died, ever. Has never been three, ever. As they taught my people to swear by Baal, JC, and all these other idols, then shall they be built in the midst of my people. Once again, when we return back onto that land, we will be returned unto our former estates. The Most High is going to be able to tell us, hey, Judah, this is your lot. Issachar, you stay here. Zebulun, you are here. Asher, you're over here. Naphtali, you're over here. So we will all know our respective lots. However, in the land that we are allocated, there will be heathens coming from these many nations who have turned to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and has asked the children of Israel to be taught of the Most High's law. Those individuals from the nations who will be of a contrite spirit, there will be land allocated in the midst of us for them. So let not the heathen be discouraged by Israelites who are out here talking about y'all going to get killed. Oh, a bunch of you are going to get killed. But a bunch of the house of Israel is going to get killed too. And the only one that can dwell with the Most High, we have read that in Psalms chapter 15. Only that man is going to walk in the law. So therefore, when you hear someone speaking about there is no law, don't you be one to utter such words. Because to say that there is no law is to blaspheme the Most High. And that's as plain as I can put it to you. All right? Let me find where I was last time. See here. Verse 14. We're going 14 through 16. All right. Verse 17. We're now at verse 17. But if they will not obey, I will utterly pluck them up and destroy that nation, saith Yah. Okay, now, the only thing to obey would be laws. The only thing to obey would be instruction. I've said before on many of these videos that you will have a Christian look at you in the face and tell you, man, there ain't no law. And I simply ask these dummies, if there is no law, then is there a judgment day? And these dummies will actually say, yes, there is a judgment day. And these dummies believe that a judgment day is after you die. Never have they ever considered in their heart, because their heart is made of fat, it's fattened, They're blind and they're deaf. These dummies never thought that a dead man knows nothing and a dead man feels nothing. You can't slap a dead man and make him cry out. He can't feel nothing. He don't know nothing. So they think that a dead man is going to be judged. This is the stupidity of the house of Israel and the heathen. However, the Most High is going to destroy these nations that will not obey his law. The Christian, the idolater, is going to say there is no law, but then the dummy is going to turn around and say that there's a judgment day. And then I ask him the question that I always ask him. I said, okay, if there's a judgment day, then there needs to be a judge. And a judge renders judgment. Judgment is punishment. And he's going to render judgment based on a law that has already been established. He doesn't just make one up on the fly. When you go to court after you get pulled over by the cop, the judge has a bunch of laws that he has to maneuver within. He can't give you 100 years for going 65 and a 55. There's stipulations that he has to follow. So a judge renders judgment, punishment on judgment day. And he cannot render a judgment unless there are laws firmly in place by which to render that judgment by. So when you hear these dummies talking about there is no law and that there's a judgment day, it speaks to their confusion. It speaks to their lack of understanding. As the Most High stated clearly, his people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And it's hard to be mad at a man for speaking about things that he doesn't even know. Our people are caught up in saying and speaking about things they believe, things they heard, not things they know. So my suggestion is for my people to get in this book and to read. All right? All right. Let's go to the end game. Last spot that we're going to, last place, Isaiah 65. Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah chapter 65. And we're going to deal with the end game. Actually, Isaiah chapter 66, excuse me. Isaiah chapter 66. Excuse me. And this is the end game. Isaiah chapter 66, we'll read verse 20 through verse 24. The end game. All right. Isaiah chapter 66 verse 20 reads, "And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yah out of all the nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters, and upon mules and upon swift beasts to my holy mountain Jerusalem." This doesn't say a holy mountain in the sky. So the Most High is going to gather the children of Israel. Let me read what it states again. "And they shall bring all your brethren." Your brethren are your brothers. So when you see in the Ukraine that the Ukrainians sticking the guns in the brother's face over there, and you thinking, man, he from Nigeria, he ain't got nothing to do with me. If you were in that position, you'd be treated the same. So we must understand that when we see that man killed across the street, when you see that man dealt with in an unrighteous manner in another nation across the seas, etc., these are your brethren. And the Most High is going to gather our brethren, our brothers, from the many nations where we have been scattered. So we understand that that man that's being, when you see another Israelite hurt or harmed, you are not to stand idly by, because when you do, you're next, because that is your brother. And our enemies do not see any difference between us from one brother to the next. They'll kill us all the same. And it doesn't matter what landmass you're on. Your treatment is going to be the same. No matter where you go, you cannot outrun these curses. We're to remember that. Let's get back to the end game. That way we know exactly what the end result of all of this is going to be. So it's the Most High says clearly that they will bring the children of Israel. They're going to gather them and come before his holy mountain. Doesn't say anything about some holy mountain in the sky, no place. We know clearly where Jerusalem is. All right. Saith Yah, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yah. So all these nations are going to gather us up out of these many nations once they realize, you know what? Y'all are the Most High's people, and we have dealt with you in a manner that is unrighteous and unjust, vile, foul, and everything bad. And we realize that the Most High is going to straight up bust our heads. He's going to kill us and our children for the way that we have treated you. So you know what? Since we don't want to die, I'm going to pick you up out of all these nations where I scattered you, or where the Most High scattered you, but I took you there because, he put a spirit on me to do this. I'm going to clean you up, make sure you're dressed in a manner that you're supposed to be dressed. I'm going to make sure I feed you the food that's within the law, statute, judgment, the precepts of the Most High. And I'm going to make sure that you're going to get back to Jerusalem. I'm going to take you up there personally. I'm going to make sure you're dressed properly and everything, that I may present you before the Most High. Most High, here's your people. Forgive us for what we have done and spare our lives. So the very people that they're denying, hey, you can't come on this train. This is a whites only train. You can't come in this restaurant. It's a white only restaurant. I can't stand you N-words. You N-words, this and that. All these very people that's been spitting in your face. Imagine the horror that's going to come across their whole person when they realize the very people that I've been calling N-words to their face, the very people that I've been denying everything, that I literally cussed out and hated, these are the people of the Most High. What is he going to do to the people that have treated his people in this manner? And that's when the horror is going to overcome them. And terror. That's a tough place to be. All right. So these people are going to come and get us and take us up to the Most High's holy mountain and offer us up in the same manner that we would offer up an offering. But when we offer up an offering, we cannot offer an offering in an unclean vessel. It has to be a clean vessel. Okay, so we're going to be taken up. Hey, Most High, here's your people. Forgive us for what we have done, and please spare our lives. That's the end game. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, says Yah. So when we are taken up to the holy mountain by enemies, they're still our enemies when they do this. It is just our enemies that don't want to die. That's all. Some of them is going to say, I don't care nothing about you N-words, and going to die anyway. But a lot of them are going to have a change of heart when these curses start hitting them. And it already has. And it's going to increase. So the Most High said, when we're delivered up by these enemies of ours, when they take us up to that temple, not to the temple, take us up to his holy mountain, that then he's going to clearly identify you are the house of Levi. And of this house of Levi, you men over here are specifically of the house of Aaron, or the sons of Aaron. You will be the priest. So many of our men are running around talking about I'm priest this and I'm priest that. Most High said he's going to let us know clearly when we are taken up to the holy mountain exactly who his Levites are. I'm rolling with what the Most High has stated here. Some men have claimed to be Levites. Do your thing. I'm going to go with what this word states. All right. Verse 22. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I shall make. He's going to have to make a new heaven and a new earth because they've torn up the place. Our enemies have nuclear waste in the water. Our enemies have done all manner of foul things to just tear this earth up. The place is in disarray. And right now, currently in the state of the earth, the average man does not know if the nuclear weapons might fly in the next 5 minutes or the next 5 hours. The earth has not been at rest. Our enemies have been in a state of war, for that is all that they know. Violence. All right. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me. The earth is not going anywhere. And you're not going up in the sky any place or anywhere. Saith Yah, so shall your seed and your name remain. The children of Israel are going to be the children of Israel. Our seed will remain. Our children will remain here. So with all the eugenics and all the prisons you've got to kill our people and all the inoculations that you give us to kill us and sterilize us, our children will always be here. We are the children of the Most High. We are the apple of his eye. His covenant cannot be broken, that we will always be before him. So it doesn't matter what the heathen does, it's not going to work. For we will always be upon the face of the earth. Via our seed, it will always remain. All right. Verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all, not some, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yah. That's who's speaking. So when the Most High is done busting heads and cleansing this earth of all these idolaters, from one Sabbath to another, all flesh comes before him. All flesh comes before him. Something to consider. For he is the spirit of all living things. All right, verse 9. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. So we're all going to look on all these idolaters that has told us that the Most High is three. And that you got to give 10% to God because you're in God's house. And all this other nonsense that they're doing. These are the men that transgressed against him. Talking about there is no law. God is three people. The church is the house of God. And all this other nonsense. These are the men and the women that has transgressed against them. What's he going to do to them? All right. The righteous are going to look upon the carcasses. That's the dead, stinking bodies of you idolaters. And all those that has transgressed against the Most High. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh, and hating upon all flesh. So to the idolaters, you're going to get killed. To the enemies of the Most High, you're going to get killed. To the enemies of the children of Israel, you're going to get killed. So in the end game of all of this, the children of Israel will be restored to the head of all nations. We will go from being the tail and we will be returned to being the head. We will go from not wanting to do this law to doing it. And we will go from doing it to teaching it. And that is the end game. You see, the children of Israel are kind of like Jonah. Jonah had a message to deliver. And he was like, nah, I ain't going to do it. Moses said, yeah, you are going to do it. So he sought to go hide on the ship. You want to go escape and go someplace else. Most High caused that whole ship to rock. See, that same thing happens in your house sometimes. When you're walking in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and there's someone in your house that is not, then all of a sudden you have all kind of turmoil in your house. It's rocking like that boat that Jonah was on. But the minute they took Jonah and threw him off that side of the boat into those waters, all of a sudden it's smooth sailing once again. So sometimes in your house and in your life, you may deal with someone who's just not a law-abiding, cause your boat to rock. Dismiss that person, do away with them, get them up out of there, and all of a sudden, you're smooth sailing once again. So, and this can be family members in your house, your children, even your spouse. Okay, so when you're walking in the law, statute, judgments, and precepts, and there's someone that's causing your boat to capsize, you have a decision to make. Do I go down with this rotten person and the ship? Do I get off and let the ship sink on its own? Or do I take this person and throw him overboard? Hey, you got to get out of my house. you're causing problems. So this is the willingness to enforce judgment. Because if someone is walking contrary to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, there's a punishment for that. And when you kick them out, the punishment for them is homelessness for being in disobedience. So that concludes this lesson. Obey my law and live. If we are to obey the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, we can live. We can lay down tonight and not wonder if Putin may let a nuclear missile go, and he just might. Okay. However, we are seeing clearly before our eyes the hypocrisy of the nations and the hypocrisy of the nation's leaders and its people. All of these nations are at war, have always been at war, and they know no peace, for they do not walk in the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. Violence is what they know. Violence is what they do. When you disagree with one of them, the solution to that is to kill. We're seeing that right before our eyes. And this thing can turn real ugly, and it can turn real ugly really quickly. However, while it is before your face and you can see the potential of what can possibly happen, this is the time where you turn. Don't wait until you're ducking and dodging and hiding in basements or whatever else before you decide to call on the name of the Most High. See, some of our people are like that. We want to wait last minute when there's absolutely no choice. However, my suggestion to you is to seek the Most High while he may be found. For when this thing kicks off and it gets really, really ugly for all the nations of the earth, these YouTube videos may not be here. The men and women, well, the men, the priests of the Most High are men, the leaders of any nation are its men. When the men of Israel come before you and teach you this law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, you are to hear it. You are to be in obedience to it. You're not to turn your eyes and close your ears and roll your eyes at the Most High's law and disregard it. So while things are still relatively good, but it's getting bad and turning to worse, go ahead and turn now. For there may come a time when this information may not be easily accessible, and the window that's opened for you to reach the Most High may be closed. You don't want that. It can go from what it is right now to extremely ugly really quickly. However, should it happen, we know certainly if we're walking in the law, statute, judgments, and precepts of the Most High, we will be granted peace in all of this chaos. And the Most High will make a clear highway for us, and the violence and the terror that shall come upon the man that does not know the Most High and does not walk in his law, that terror is not something that we have to fear, nor do we worry. So obey the Most High's law and live. Not because you're alive mean that you're living. There's a whole lot of folks right now alive, laid up in a hospital someplace, oxygen plugged up on their faces, needles all in their arm. They don't know if it's Wednesday or Monday. So your goal is to walk in the law and live. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. And peace to the stranger that will take a hold of the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and do them. It's been a while since I've done a video. I'm probably pushing 6 weeks. But, I was ill for a while. Respiratory infection. I get those just about every year. And it's good to be back and to be at full strength. All praises to the Most High for that. For many of you who were concerned and sent me all of those remedies, I certainly appreciate it. But for me, for the most part, amoxicillin is pretty much what takes care of that infection in my chest. It happens every year. And my goal now is to try to avoid that as we come into this spring season. As the pollen falls, I probably will get sick again, lose my voice, and all types of things. This allergy for me is pretty rough. But I do thank you for your concerns, and I thank you for your well wishes and all of those remedies. All right? Peace and Yah bless to all of you. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel.